In the shadows of Philadelphia's twisted history lies a fortress of torment, Eastern State Penitentiary. Behind these crumbling walls, the tortured souls of America's most notorious criminals still roam the endless corridors, a place where solitary confinement drove men to madness, where whispers echo through cell blocks, and where dark figures lurk in the corners of your vision. Guards and visitors alike report phantom footsteps following them down empty halls, desperate faces peering from abandoned cells, and bone-chilling screams piercing the dead of night. Welcome to Season 15, Episode 4, where we delve into America's most haunted prison, a gothic nightmare where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and where some inmates, it seems, never truly left. Eastern State Penitentiary, where punishment extends beyond the grave.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Is This Real? Welcome back to another episode of Is This Real? I'm your host, JC3, and tonight we're taking a trip inside the decaying walls of one of the most infamous and allegedly haunted places in the world, the Eastern State Penitentiary, as Big Joe said. We do have Big Joe, and we do have Pope Tony here. Gentlemen, say hello.
Hello.
I'm at the Pope.
In this, I think this is our fifth episode of this season. Fifth or sixth. It's one of those.
It's a number.
Continuing our season theme of haunted abandoned places, and I'm going to love this episode because this is one of these haunted abandoned places that everybody knows. Apparently it's truly haunted. There's more evidence, and we'll talk about it later in the episode. But I first learned about Eastern State Penitentiary through Ghost Hunters, the TV show, when they went there. I think that was like 15 years ago now.
Yeah, that was a classic.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I just want, in this first segment of the episode, to know when you guys first heard about Eastern State. Like, Dad, I'll start with you. When did you first learn about Eastern State or hear about Eastern State Penitentiary?
Pretty much the same time as you, because I didn't know it existed at that point. I wasn't really into my ghost stuff, hauntings. I mean, I'm into my ghost stuff, but I was never into buildings that were haunted or, proverbial haunted spots. So, yeah, I think I got my first incarnation of that, or first found out about it, was through Ghost Hunters.
Oh.
I think this was like the mid-90s, and Fox 5 would usually run like a Saturday night special of something really like spooky around Halloween time. And it was like 95, 96. And I also remember uncles renting videos from Blockbuster all about like rare ghost sightings, like caught on tape type shit. And I think Eastern State was first mentioned, like my first exposure was in one of those videos or one of those Fox 5 like specials, and it was spooky then. I mean, it still is now, but it's, to me now, I can, especially around like Halloween, we see the posters all around like our area where we live in North Jersey. Hey, knock it the fuck off!
Knock it the fuck off!
Fighting. We see the haunted tour posters everywhere because they do the midnight tours of Eastern State Penitentiary, and then of course the ghost hunters who went there, and it's just one of those things that like I've noticed it more growing up.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's a spooky fucking place.
The closer we live, and again, if you guys know our podcast, you know where we are. And if this is your first time watching our podcast, we're in North Jersey. Eastern State is by Philadelphia. So we have the capability of going there literally on a whim. We can literally take 2 or 3 hours.
Which we will be doing.
And we've been saying that since this episode came out of Ghost Hunters 15 years ago. We will be going down there. Haven't done it.
Well, I didn't say when.
But I think that goes into the category of, because it's there and we know it's there, we'll get to it when we do. You know what I'm saying? It has that
Right.
type of life thing. But this place has a dark history built on the idea that isolation could lead to redemption. Eastern State became a nightmare for those trapped inside. Some say the suffering left behind was more than just memories, that the spirits of the past still roam its halls. As you said at the beginning, Dad, and into your intro, is this truly a haunted place, or is just another ghost story? We're going to dive into it. Now, the history of Eastern State Penitentiary, it opened in 1829 in Philadelphia. and it was unlike any other prison before it. It was built on the revolutionary idea of solitary confinement as a means of rehabilitation. That belief was the complete isolation would force criminals to reflect on their crimes and reform, which is a crazy idea to begin with.
Yeah, anytime you stick somebody in, in total isolation, you're not rehabilitating anybody. You're driving them up a fucking wall.
I
That's simple.
I think it's been looked at by psychiatrists who, I think the consensus now is like it's almost a form of torture, that you cannot put someone in like the hole for like past a point of time. Because at that point, it's psychologically damaging them. And although they are prisoners, they do have some rights, right to health and welfare and shit like that. Torture someone just because they're a prisoner. But like I think that's actually something now where the psychiatrists are going, yeah, you got to cut them off at some point. Eventually, like, they need to see the sun.
This just wasn't isolation. It was extreme. Inmates lived in tiny cells alone 24/7. They weren't allowed visitors, letters, or even human contact. Guards wore padded shoes to keep the prison completely silent. If a prisoner left their cell, they were hooded so they couldn't see or be seen. Again, crazy fucking shit.
It's almost, it was a supermax prison. Right before we had the term of the supermax, like the supermax prison of 2025 is, I forget the name of it, but it's in like the Colorado area, and it's like they're in their cells 23 hours a day. They get 1 hour to like walk around a basketball court, and they're like tethered to this pole in the center, and they have to stay within the circle. They get that for an hour, and then it's back to the fucking cell. I don't know if they're allowed to have like a book or a magazine or anything, but like that's what Eastern State Penitentiary was when it opened up, and it was like that for every inmate except for a notable one, which I'm sure we'll get to later on in this episode.
But what happens when you leave someone in total isolation for years? They break.
They go fucking nutso.
Many inmates went insane, suffering hallucinations, paranoia, and severe depression. Some even resorted to self-harm or suicide. The prison, originally meant to rehabilitate, instead became a place of psychological torture. By the early 1900s, the solitary confinement model was abandoned, the prison became overcrowded, and by 1971 it was officially shut down. But some say Eastern State was never truly abandoned, that something lingers in its crumbling walls. So, what?
I was going to say, the fact that it only closed down in 71 is kind of creepy. Granted, that was, at this point, 50-something years ago.
54.
4 years ago, yeah. But, like, when you sit there and think of, like, history, it's like Dad was a teenager when he was 11. But, like, my point is, like, Dad was was walking around.
Well, Dad's old.
At the time, the last prisoners, like, they came to the decision, we're going to shut this down and get the fuck out of here. So it's like, the point is, like, when we read about Waverly State, when we did the episode Waverly State, it closed so long ago, it's like, it's part of history. Like, no one was around. Eastern State, there's motherfuckers who are walking around in Philly going, yeah, I worked there. You know what I mean? Like, it's still, it's not that old.
Have we heard any stories from the people that were there, like, released prisoners, or, how did they take to it? Because I'll be honest with you, anytime you're dealing with isolation like this, there's a reason why they put you in the hole for 30 days. You're isolated. There's a reason why Stephen King made an entire career at writing books. Isolation. It comes down to a very simple thing. This is what it is. Isolation is not good for the psyche. It's not good for the brain. And then you compact that with a situation where you don't know what your future is going to be. Are you going to make it out of this torture chamber, basically? No, and it shouldn't be that way. But I guess that they thought that was the way to go back then. But I would love to hear from some prisoners that may have stayed there and experienced this, or guards or something.
Well, it doesn't help. I'm sorry, I don't mean, but I just wanted to point this out. It doesn't help that it looks out of place in Philadelphia. Like, if you look at it, it looks like an old fort. Like it's very square.
Yeah.
It's almost like a castle in like England. Like, it's very old looking in a very modern area of the world. It's Philadelphia. And it's so big, it's just like this big, weird area sticking out of the city. And
the only thing I've got...
I just find it fucking strange that it was designed to look that way. Because that's not what we think of prisons today. You know what I mean?
Well, no, because Sorry, Dad, go.
The only thing I can think of something that looks like that, but isn't a prison, is, I don't know, Joe, if you remember when we were in Bermuda, that one fort looked just like Eastern State.
Well, I mean,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, you have the one in Bermuda, and the ones I mean, it's a little older,
the
but
fort up in New York.
the fort in St. Augustine, we saw
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
These are older, but those are, yeah, I mean,
What
so
forts look like?
those forts were closed down, 200 plus years ago. This one only shut down 50 plus years ago. That's the whole craziness about Eastern State is that, and I'm trying to find some sources. I mean, I have paranormal accounts, but and their sources, and we'll talk about that when we get into the paranormal aspect of it. I haven't heard anything from when it was like you hear accounts of it being haunted after it shuts down. I've never heard any accounts of like as an active prison.
Well, I heard some accounts of the, I guess what you would call the hole, where they put them in isolation on the bottom of the building, that even the guards were afraid to go down there at certain times because they would hear strange noises. They would see flashes. There was different things that they would see, and they would keep it amongst themselves. But that was as it was operating. It's not like they waited till they closed or any. This is as it was going on. Now, were they seeing stuff down there? I don't know. But there are some reports that there were some kind of, activity in and around the hole of the
while it was an
prison.
Active prison.
I'm going to call it the hole because I don't know what else to call it. While it was an active prison, yeah, because the guards there's a lot of guards that had said that they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to go downstairs at all. So
I don't know. Part of me is thinking like it's the worst part of the prison. No one wants to go there. Period.
Correct.
You can make up any excuse, and I could completely see a bunch of guys making up any reason, and then the reasons get spread around to become something it's not, like, and it's bigger than it was supposed to be.
Sure.
I would believe that more than like, oh, the hole was haunted. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I'm like, by who? How many people died in the hole? I'm sure it was more than one. It just so happens to be, like, it's too coincidental that the scariest place also happens to be haunted. But I can understand a bunch of guys making up any excuse not to go down there because that's a fate that they don't want to even think about. And they got to stick a motherfucker in there when he's acting up.
Well, again, like I said, who knows? We don't know. I mean, you're perfectly correct when you say something like that because no one knows. No one has got a picture. No one's got an audio recording. The audio recordings and stuff like that happened after they closed the place down. It turned into I guess is it a museum now or?
Technically.
Yeah. Okay.
What's interesting about the construction of it, not only does it look like a fort, it's also a wagon wheel. So, like, the center of the prison is right in the center, like, of where a spoke would be on a wheel. And then there's, like, 6 corridors that go out from that center, and all those corridors are lined with the cells of the inmates.
Yeah, we have one.
My point is, like, it's not like a big, chunky, like, block structure where there's a lot of rooms and shit to hide in. They minimized everything to keep everything as contained as possible. So, like, again, looking at it from above, looking, down from like a plane or whatever, you just see this like gated area and then like these giant swatches of grass, but it looks like a giant like
which makes it creepy on its own right because there's a center and then you have just corridors.
Yeah. Because anyway, any direction you're looking, if you're standing in the center of it, any direction you're looking at infinity. You're looking at, you go over here, then you look over here, then you look over there, behind you. It's all the same shit. So you're always got that vibe of somebody's looking at me from somewhere.
And also, it's one way in, one way out. So if there was ever like a riot, it's like just shut out, just lock the door at B wing. No one can get out. You know what I mean? They couldn't get out the other way, so whoever was in there was fucked. We're going to take a short break,
and then we're going to get back to the episode. We're going to talk about the ghostly hauntings and so-called evidence that has been filmed here at Eastern State. We'll be right back.
Hey, fellow truth seekers. Want to take your love for the Is This Real podcast to the next level? Check out our exclusive merchandise line designed for curious minds like yours in mind. From comfy tees and hoodies to stylish mugs and accessories, our merchandise is the best way for you to show your passion for unraveling the mysteries of the fucking universe. Visit our online store at isthisrealpc.com and gear up to explore the universe in style. Don't just listen, wear your curiosity with pride with Is This Real podcast merchandise.
Hey there, fellow truth seekers. Are you ready to dive deep into the mysteries of the universe? Look no further than isisrealpc.com, your one-stop destination for all things mysterious and unexplained. From captivating podcast episodes to thought-provoking articles, our website is packed with fascinating content that will leave you questioning reality. Visit isisrealpc.com today and join our community of curious minds as we explore the unknown together. Don't just wonder, discover the truth today at isisrealpc.com.
Welcome back to our Eastern State Penitentiary episode. Eastern State is considered one of the most haunted places in the world, and for good reason. Former guards, visitors, and paranormal investigators all report strange occurrences. Let's talk about some of these most famous hauntings. One of the most active areas is Cell Block 12. Oh, I lost where my place was. Oh, I really lost where my place was. Sorry. Cell Block 12. People hear echoing laughter, whispers, and disembodied voices. Visitors describe seeing shadowy figures moving through the cells, only to vanish when approached. Then there's, Jesus Christ, then there's Cell Block 6.
Is there any video recordings of any of this other than what you got on Ghost Hunters?
Ghost hunting.
It's a hotspot for ghost hunting. I'm sure if you went on YouTube, there's a lot of these paranormal investigators who have their own YouTube channel who have
we have to do that
something.
search
Who
because I
knows?
really haven't looked it up. But I guarantee somebody probably caught something, Cell Block 6, where a dark, shadowy figure is often seen pacing along the walls. Some describe it as a tall, looming presence that moves unnaturally fast, which I believe is the figure that the ghost hunters caught on their video. I think that was Cell Block 6.
Yes, I think so.
Let me ask you a question.
I still say it looked like a sneaker.
Okay. I want to, out of
That
the two
video?
of you, tell me, real or not? Do you believe it? Yeah, real or not?
You know, I think they really tried to build, at least in their earlier seasons, they tried to build their brand off of integrity. Like they were trying to be as honest as possible. I don't think they sold out or have sold out enough to fabricate that kind of evidence. But when you see it, to me, when it pulls away and starts running back up the corridor, it looks like a shoe. It looks like someone's like running, and you see like the back of the sole of their shoe as they're running away.
Yeah, I always got the vibe that it was a cartoon. I always got that vibe. Maybe it was because of the pixelation. I don't know. But anytime I see it, it just looks like a cartoon would
I
act.
can
It really does. And
understand
I know
that,
what you're saying about the shoe. I see that too.
That was, 2008, 2009, I think that episode came out. And the technology, I'm not saying it wasn't there because CGI was a thing in that time, but for them, for the place where
Sure.
they were at the time, they're still in, I think it was season 3 that came out. They're not big. We all know what they went through with season 1, the white van and the trailer and everything like that. Then they moved up and stuff like that because people started like the show. But for that, the graininess of the video and how low quality that was, it's hard for me to say, oh, CGI.
Yeah, that's fair too.
I look at if it was CGI, it was really bad CGI. That's how I look at it. Because to me, again, I mean, I'm not saying it was fake. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you from my first impressions and watching it over the years, it just seems like it was something drawn on, like they used to do in Hollywood back in the 40s.
The problem that you have
It just
with that
how it looked to
is
me. I don't know.
when I watched that video, and to say it was like the first instinct, you want to say it's fake. Like you want to say, because I think that's human instinct, is that something we don't understand. We're like, oh no, that's fake. And something like this, we don't understand. Catching a video, now mind you, how tall the thing was about the size of the railing, which is about, how I'm sitting right here. That's about how tall it was. So you're talking about, I'm
Right.
not going to use the M word because Anthony wants to call it one. You're talking about something that's 4.5 foot high, and it looked like it was, like
Vertically
but the thing
challenged?
what I like that they did early in the seasons, which I think they started to either they stopped doing it or they didn't show it on the shows, on the the episodes, is they try to recreate and debunk it. And you saw them try to do that, and they
Right.
couldn't do it. When you try to do something and you can't recreate it, that gives more, I'm guessing, what's the word? That gives more value to that video.
Yeah, but you can also look at it like this. Say they did do it. They know how to do it, so they know not what to touch when they're going to redo it.
I just rewatched the video on TikTok, right? It looks like it's the best splice job ever. Here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks like a black mass, completely black, like if someone was wearing a black cape and was like even covering their shoes, like just a black thing coming right towards the camera. And then the next instant is what I'm talking about when I say the shoe type of thing, because the next instant, to me, it looks like someone who's wearing a black cape running back up the hallway.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if I were to recreate that, I would film myself walking up to it and then cut out all the footage in between that and me running away from it, and it would look exactly the same. Because it has that look where it just like does this, but it looks like if it was cut at the exact right second, it could be just
That's
somebody
fine,
wearing a
but
black
they
cape and
had
running
that.
away.
They had, I think it was Brian whatever the fuck his last name was. He put on the cape. He put on a
Harnois.
black hood. Now, granted, is it going to be spliced at the right second and, that's Hollywood up if you want to say they did it that way? No. But at the second they did it, you're going to tell me they caught that video, number one, was watching that video live at Eastern State and decided to, hold up, let's try and recreate this and then do it wrong. So they're going to send it to the truck, and they're going to get that video as good as it is, or good bad as it is, for them to the same night try to recreate it and recreate it bad.
You know what it also could be, Joe? It could also be a very good splice job when the camera was out of focus. What I mean is, if there was something that was passing in front of it like a fly, and the camera tried to adjust itself to capture the fly, and the fly would light up, because there was a brief like flash of like a light down by the bottom of the rung. If that light were, if the camera were to adjust enough to try to capture the fly, I could see someone taking that footage and be like, oh, the camera fucked up and adjusted, it looks weird, and then somehow editing that portion back into like a regular shot that was in focus to give it that look, because then everything's not out of focus and it's still something weird and fucked up is happening. I could see them doing that too. I'm just saying it's not out of the range of
possibility. At the same time, you're talking about something that, like, you're talking about so many different scenarios.
Well, yes, but you're also predicating on the belief that they do the show the way they say they do the show, which is like, we take the footage and we watched over the weekend and then we report back on Monday. Like that, they could be saying that, and it takes them a week and a half.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time,
they just make it look like.
Number one, if that was somebody as bad as it can be, that shadow still see through. As you watch that, where you see the rings coming down on the railing, you still see the railing on the other side of the shadow. You're not doing that with
it happens so fast.
A real person and an effect over the video. You're not making that person see through. That's number one. Number two, it doesn't matter if it happens so fast. You're still seeing through the object that's in front of you.
Not really. It looks like you're seeing through the object because it's right at that edge, but you're not really seeing through it. I say, listen, people who are watching us, all three of you, go on YouTube or go on TikTok, type in Eastern State Penitentiary Ghost Hunters, and you'll find it. You'll see it's the biggest clip. Everyone questions it because we take it for face value. We take it as what the Ghostbusters, Hunters, whatever the fuck their name is, actually caught, and we say look, it's evidence, and we don't make a determination.
To be honest with you, we were hoping they would. You're watching that show to be creeped out. That's what you're watching it for. And how many times you watch it and you disappointed because at the end of the show, I'm sorry, it was not haunted. And you're like, oh, we just wasted 60 minutes.
Yeah. Like, no one watched that shit because they're interested in camera equipment.
It's not like the other Ghost Hunter dude.
I can't stand
everything he does is haunted.
But there is a couple more. There's a couple more areas in Eastern State besides Cell Block 6. You have Al Capone's cell. Al Capone was a resident there. His cell, the Notorious Gangster.
A resident. He contacted the HOA.
The Notorious Gangster was locked up
fucking
in
asshole.
1929. And even though he lived in relative luxury, his cell had a rug, furniture, and even a radio. He was tormented by something. Capone claimed to be haunted by the ghost of James Clark, one of the men who he killed in the infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre. Every night he would scream, begging the ghost to leave him alone. But the most chilling legend is the Shadow Man. This figure is said to lurk in the corridors, appearing as a tall, black silhouette with no discernible features. Some say it watches from the darkness. Others claim it rushes toward them, only to disappear at the last second.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do things out of order here. We
No.
just got done with that segment. Now Joey's mentioning it. Everything we talked about.
No.
Dude, it's exactly what the ghost hunters caught.
They caught
That's
the
the
ghost in
Shadow
cell
Man.
block 6, you dick. They were in cell block 6.
No, I think they caught the Shadow Man.
No,
Does it matter?
no.
Does it really
No,
matter?
because-
I'm serious.
Shut the
Hold on a
fuck up.
second. What's
Shut
the
the
Shadow
fuck up.
Man? They
Shut the
just
fuck up,
so
all right? You
pissed on
goddamn
Mark 6
cocksucker.
that night.
All right, I'm tired of this fucking of this host, my besmirching my fucking good name as a host. You are. Oh, we're doing shit backwards. Shut the fuck up, all right? You don't even have a podcast. Your podcast failed, motherfucker. All right? Don't even sit here and start with me. Imagine walking
not
through an abandoned
besmirching
prison
you,
at night, and suddenly
okay?
you see something dark past your vision. Chat
Go back to reading
GPT. How about you
ChatGPT.
shut the fuck up?
In your case, it's Chat BLT.
At least I'm doing something instead of staying at home, smoking weed, and jerking off every night. Anywho,
Where can I get that gig?
your take.
Keeps my
In your
OnlyFans
case,
going.
only pans. What is your take
Let's
on,
go, come on.
these ghostly encounters, Dad? Do you believe that there's a thing here or not?
Do I believe it? Yes, I do believe it. I believe anywhere you're going to go that had harbored people in
think-
life and treated them like shit, and tortured them,
I think
the energy,
that's the thing, though.
you know.
Again,
What-
we talk about this every.
Fuck, what's going on?
What is it, Poe? What do you
We
smell?
talk about it every week so far in this season, that these places are a harbor for torture or a harbor for just bad energy. These are the places. These
Bad juju.
are
Yeah, when bad things happen, spooky shit occurs.
Hey, we got our
Yes,
first
we got
spooky
our
shit
first
of
spooky
tonight.
shit.
Well, anyway, you were asking me if I believe it. I do believe it. I do believe that there was. I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks. All right, I do believe it. And you know, again, do I have evidence? No, I don't. But I believe it's definitely something
Anthony?
there.
Not that I give a shit.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as that. Listen, going back to Al Capone.
Did you give
You
it
know
to
he
him?
had syphilis, right? And that fucks with your brain. No, I didn't give Al Capone syphilis, you fucking moron. Well, my point is, could it be like the guilt weighing on him that granted, I don't understand like that guy in particular, because Al Capone killed a bunch of people, but like, could it be the guilt weighing on a syphilis-ridden mind that makes him hallucinate to think that he's being haunted?
Did he have
Instead of
syphilis
actually
when he
being
was
haunted?
a resident at Eastern
Sure.
State Penitentiary?
I had to check his fucking medical records. I think so.
So basically, you gave us something that,
My
he
goodness.
could be doing this when you don't know if he actually had it at that particular point in time.
Hey, asshole, isn't that the point of this whole fucking podcast? We don't have evidence. We let everyone look at the shit for themselves.
Fucking idiot. And no.
And you
no,
wonder why we
first of
can't
all,
get guests.
Yes, and so some of the guests that you bring have been out there, but we're not gonna
Wait a
talk
minute.
about the guy with the book.
Well, hold on a minute. You don't even want to go. You don't even want to go there with me, okay?
Anyhow,
All right, I don't want
we're
to
gonna
hear
take
you.
another short break.
Continue
and
the
we'll be back
podcast.
to finish this episode and talk about the rest of Eastern State.
And we're back.
We're like the New York Jets. We get going
No,
in the
we
second
had a good
half.
open, all right, and then you just had to shit on it.
I ain't shit on it. I was very
All right,
much
come on, let's
engaged.
go. Come on, I got a pillow
5,
waiting for me, please.
4, 3, 2. Welcome back to the Eastern State Penitentiary episode. In this last segment, we're going to talk about modern explorations and investigations. Today, Eastern State is a historic site. You could take tours during the day, as we said during the this episode earlier. If you're feeling brave, visit during the annual Haunted House event, Terror Behind the Walls. But ghost hunters, they come for something else. Paranormal teams like Ghost Hunters, again, we talked about this, and Ghost Adventures, I never saw their episode on Eastern State Penitentiary, have investigated Eastern
Me
State,
either.
and they've captured some terrifying evidence, EVPs, unexplained footsteps, door slammings on their own, and shadowy figures. Even visitors with no ghost hunting experience report feeling watched, hearing whispers, and seeing movement in the dark. Now, again, that's something that I will give credit for Anthony. We can, again, we've talked about during this season. Can you attribute that to, that place is haunted, and when you're going there, you want to see something, so your mind plays tricks on you, and you're going to try and see something that maybe not there, that could possibly be happening?
Yeah, anything's possible. No one knows. No one has a fucking clue.
I think in the
Until-
case
look,
of
Until it fucking taps you on the ass, we're all going to be sitting here going,
That's a freaky ass
I
ghost.
don't know. I'm not sure. I could be. Okay. That's my point. It's what you believe. You asked me before, do I believe it's haunted? Yes, I do. And the reason why I believe that is because of what went on there, what occurred there early on throughout the years. Once you have that kind of bad juju, shit's going to happen.
two
People are going to be
t-shirts,
hanging around.
spooky
People are
shit,
going to want,
and bad juju.
Okay, that's my
Anthony?
take on it. Sorry.
I think, yeah, it's a place of death. It's a place of torture. And when people die in tragic circumstances, yeah, I think it's possible that they leave some essence of themselves behind in some form of whatever the fuck. Ghost, if you want to call it that. That's too many people died there for it to just kind of be, playing in everyone's minds.
You
I
know,
think it's
the
real.
interesting question I think we started talking about last week is ghost hunting at places like these that have the torture and the death, is it respectful? Is it necessary? And I think that's something we should start asking about places like this, because obviously learning the history, which I didn't know that much about the history, learning so much about the history and how it was a place of isolation and torture, even though these people were inmates, they done crimes, they were still people. And is it disrespectful to ghost hunt and try and go through those halls, and what they're doing with the haunted behind walls, wherever that is that disrespectful to the people that, if they're still there, to their memory, like we talk about with Auschwitz and all those other places? Anthony says no. Dad?
No, I disagree. I agree with Anthony. I don't. This is not a 9/11 situation. This is not
We're not trying to raise the Titanic. People
the Arizona.
Yeah, the people weren't put to death there intentionally.
These are innocent people that died in these other places,
Right.
that their families are still here. Okay. And no one wants to be dragging their names through the mud. You start doing that, you start allowing people to ghost hunt over there, and right away they're going to come up with names. They're going to come up with names of dead people, and those dead people, and then they'll be out there for everybody to see. And then somebody will ask the relative, Mrs. Robinson, they caught your son Billy was floating around the 9/11 or something like that. That's when it comes to be disrespectful. A prison situation, a setting like this was a prison. This is a place where bad guys went to do bad shit.
And that's where
That's
sent
exactly
the bad guys.
what this
they didn't
is.
go do the bad shit there.
Well, they weren't florists in there, okay? These guys went in there and they did their thing. And again, you can look at it like this. The people that were in Eastern State are long gone.
Yeah,
They're
but
long
you're
gone.
talking,
They
like,
weren't
it's the same
innocent
thing.
victims.
It's the same thing with their families. Their families could still be out there. I mean, you're only talking about fucking 55 years ago that this thing was open. So
yeah, but it's like saying technically we know that there's a couple of Hitler's great grandchildren walking around, or grand nieces and nephews. And every once in a while, it's like, your great he's like, I never met the guy. It's just like, it's not my fault that my last name's Hitler. Leave me alone. Like, you have that aspect to it, but at the same time, this was a building with a purpose. It was designed to house prisoners. I don't feel sorry for fucking prisoners. Let them be exploited. They did bad shit. Now, I'm not saying every guy who ever went to Eastern State Pen was they're obviously all found guilty, but I don't know if they did the crime or not. There's thousands of motherfuckers who went there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a few of them were innocent and got off on the judge was pissed off that day and just took it out on him. But bad shit happens to good people sometimes. So, yeah, I kind of lost track of my thought there. But, yeah.
So, again, I don't know where to fucking go with this. But to the people out there,
I'm doing it for you, West. Happy birthday, by the way, Mr. West.
This is 3 months from now when this is coming out. So, it's not really his birthday. Really belated.
Happy belated birthday,
Happy
Mr.
birthday
West.
for 2026, West. So, here's the thing. The people out there, what do you think? Do you think that do you think Eastern State Penitentiary is truly haunted, or is it just another ghost story passed down over time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and in our social media pages. But I think that's it tonight, guys. I mean, anything else you guys have for Eastern State? Want to talk about? Nothing?
No.
Right?
No, not really.
Don't forget to
I think it
follow
was
us on all of our
interesting.
platforms. Check out our Patreon for exclusive content. And as always, everybody, question everything. Good night, guys.
Adios, motherfuckers.